So I'm watching Democracy Now! And this is the Friday show. On Fridays, Democracy Now! Really takes the day off. I think they pre-record the show or something.
I think they do too.
And they just have a lot of interviews. So they have Scahill and some guy from The Intercept doing a story. I have actually, I might want to put this into after the first segment because
is this the Prince story?
It's kind of lengthy. But apparently the U.S. is going after Erik Prince, their old buddy.
I think you're right. No, you know what? Screw it. We can cram this into the A block because I read about this story and I really want to hear what you got for us.
Well, Erik Prince, they decided to go after him, and I'm listening to Scahill and this other guy who is the security guy for the Intercept.
Now, hold on. Erik Prince was the owner of Blackwater, then became Z, then became Academy. He got fired. The last thing I remember, he was pitching business with the Chinese, but that's probably a year ago.
No, he's still pitching. He's pitching everywhere. But I'm listening to this report, and as I listen to it, I'm thinking to myself, what actually has he done wrong that would have any sort of?
Well, it was his guys who shot up all those people in Iraq, and it was.
That's all water under the bridge. This is all new stuff.
Oh, new?
Yeah, this is all new.
It must be him working for the Chiners. No one likes that.
Well, I don't know if that's it either, but we have some hints of what it is.
Okay.
And when you play all these clips, there's only one conclusion you can draw at the end of it.
All right.
Which relates to what we've just been talking about.
Is that a stage management instruction to me?
I don't really have any.
At the end of it. Yeah. Shut up, Curry.
The end of it.
Don't interrupt.
Shut up, Curry.
Don't interrupt.
Who's interrupting?
All right.
Let's start with this one. This is the Erik Prince first rap, and as far as I can tell, this is how I don't know if this is the one that start this off and then I'll have to stop it.
And eventually we were able to review.
No, stop it. Okay, let's see what I got to get to the real first clip, which is Amy going on. Well, in the meantime, play E. It starts with the letter E. Need all hands on deck. Play that.
We need all hands on deck.
Okay, good enough. Now,
I was like, I'm just going to get my whistle while that clip is playing. Thanks for the warning.
We need all hands on deck.
Okay, that will be in the end of the show for sure. Nice ISO.
That is Melissa Myers.
Oh, Marissa Myers. Marissa.
Yeah,
I feel so bad for her.
Why?
Because she's failing.
Yeah, she doesn't think so. She's not failing, and her banker doesn't think so. Erik Prince overview. Try that.
All righty. Prince overview.
In a major new expose, The Intercept has revealed that the Justice Department is investigating Blackwater founder Erik Prince for possible money laundering, ties to Chinese intelligence, and attempts to broker military services to foreign governments. Prince is currently the chairman of Frontier Services Group, an aviation and logistics firm that specializes in shipping in Africa. The documents obtained by The Intercept show that Prince has also set up shell companies to offer paramilitary services to at least a half dozen African nations, including Libya. Both the U.S. and the United Nations have imposed a series of restrictions on military dealings in Libya. Prince is also suspected of attempting to open Chinese bank accounts to move money for his Libyan associates. A former intelligence official told The Intercept, quote, money laundering for Libyan officials using a Chinese bank, that is the issue that pushed it over the edge.
As part of its investigation, The Intercept obtained an internal slide presentation showing Erik Prince's private force would operate in Libya for the stated purpose of stopping the flow of refugees to Europe. Libya is one of the main routes for migrants trying to enter Europe from Eastern Africa and parts of the Central Sahel region. Prince has also long been interested in raising a private military force to battle Islamic militant groups in a variety of countries. The Intercept also reports an internal proposals drafted by Prince and his team for a project codenamed Project November aimed at confronting the theft of Nigerian oil, providing VIP protection for Nigerian officials, and engaging in counterinsurgency activities.
You know, I know guys like this. And they really don't care what side they play on.
Well, that's true, but that's true, but let's go over the basics here.
He was stemming the flow of immigrants from Libya to Europe?
Stemming
or
the flow of immigrants.
Stimulating? That's the question.
No, stemming.
Okay.
Here's what. Let's just look at the surface and just take it for what it is. Right. He's stemming. He wants to stem the flow of immigrants from Libya.
Yeah.
He wants to fight.
Why? What client wants that? That's my question.
This is all revealed in these clips, by the way.
Okay, I'll shut up.
As you continue.
I'll shut up.
He wants to stem the flow of immigrants. He wants to fight ISIS.
Yeah.
And he wants to keep this Nigerian oil scam. He wants to end that. Now, the question is just at the surface. Maybe this is all bull crap, but what's wrong with any of those three things?
Okay. First, you know what? I'm just going to give up.
What's wrong with because somebody doesn't want him stemming the flow of immigrants?
Yeah, clearly, he does not. They do not want him to do that, right? So they're going to make trouble for him.
They don't want him fighting ISIS.
No, that would be no good.
Because he's killing
he's killing us. He's killing the good guys. Yeah, that's no good.
And they don't want him apparently to do anything about this scam going on in Nigeria.
Which we know we're intimately involved in. Do you know that's up to $60 billion now that was stolen? Yeah. When we reported on it, it was 16.
Yeah. No.
And so that was a year ago. Yeah.
Apparently never got the memo.
Or he's just been taken out of the loop.
Or he knows this is all going on which is what I believe, and he's just causing trouble. But let's go to the first rap. This is the guy from The Intercept going on and on. And there's just a kicker in here when you just crack up hearing this. This is Erik Prince. First rap did nothing.
And eventually we were able to review a series of documents that showed what Prince and a small group of cohorts were trying to do. And what we found was pretty alarming in terms of a U.S. citizen, private U.S. citizen, and no longer really associated with the U.S. government, going around to countries and trying to exploit either their problems or their fears to present what they call turnkey solutions, which is a full spectrum of military services, intelligence, so that the countries that would potentially buy these proposals basically have to do nothing other than write a check, and he would be able to bring in everything from spy airplanes to paramilitary operatives on the ground and his own, personal spying force, and hunter-killers, if you will. So far what we found is that no one has purchased his services, but it didn't stop him from trying and continuing to try to provide those things to as many countries as anywhere he could and could see a business opportunity.
Oh, so they went right in during his sales cycle. They didn't even let him get to the pitch.
He just didn't sell to anybody. Nobody's buying his product.
Mm-hmm.
So what did he do wrong? Had a bad sales pitch?
Yeah.
This is very fishy to me.
I like this. Then this fits right into what we're talking about today.
Yes.
Jeez. We're so fucking evil.
Let's add a little more complexity to it.
Okay.
This I did not know. This is the Erik Prince Libya story Haftar clip.
Because Libya is essentially a failed state. There's competing groups claiming to be the actual government, and not to mention all the other insurgent groups. Who was he working with in Libya?
Well, it's a little murky in terms of who he was working with. What we know about Erik Prince's interest in Libya is that it began early on. I believe it began by 2011 when the fall of Gaddafi. But by 2013, he was in Libya, had come together with a proposal with a few partners to offer a complete Blackwater service for counterinsurgency. He wanted to bring stability into the east and wipe out the Islamists who were gaining strength subsequent to Gaddafi's fall. And initially, he had a difficult time finding the right partners. It was clear when he was meeting with people that he didn't trust some of the factions that he was dealing with. I think it was he wasn't familiar with Libya. He's certainly not an Arabist or an expert, and had a difficult time trying to figure out who was who. And ultimately what he did was he went after meetings or trying to broker a deal with a man by the name of General Haftar, who is now the head of armed forces essentially in Libya, but who is a dual U.S. citizen, lived in the U.S. for a long time and worked with the agency, the CIA, for many years.
Wow.
So we have the head of the Libyan military force is the CIA guy?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, that would explain it, because when you weasel in on the CIA's turf, you usually don't. You're lucky to get out alive. With a Democracy Now! Piece. Hey, Prince, we're going to make a deal. We'll give you a Democracy Now! Piece, and then you get out. Stop it.
Now, I have an optional clip you can play.
Can I just throw something in here? So,
yeah, sure.
If this is truly the way it's going, and CIA, that's the only people who I think would be able to do this with some cooperation from State Department. There's got to be, and there's always cooperation with CIA and State Department. They sit in the same buildings. The idea is to overrun Europe which is kind of the same thing that that Erdogan wants, except the U.S., who needs to have Hillary Clinton be president. You can't execute this plan without Hillary Clinton, although I have an option, because she's the only one who truly wants to go and kill people. And the idea is we go in every single time there's one of these attacks. We're on the scene. We start building up some presence, some bases, and then we're going to defend the EU from Turkey while we really manage the EU through our banking strength and of course at this point our military power. We're going to keep everybody safe. We will once again become the policemen of the world with special presence in the EU. On the other hand, interestingly, Donald Trump would fit in very perfectly with this, because he has said consistently, it's okay, we'll play policemen of the world, but they're going to pay us for it, which may be an even better message for the military-industrial complex. Either way, we're going to wind up protecting Europe, I think. We're
going to end up running
Europe. Yeah, we're going to start. And what else can they do?
Well,
at this point,
the sounds of all these people I've been listening to, they can't do much, and they seem to be beside themselves. And this fear, canceling the fear march, it's just too much. Now, I have a clip that's kind of optional. It's not as important as the last clip.
All right.
But you can play it if you find all this interesting.
Very interesting. You kidding me?
Yeah, Erik Prince, WTF2.
Over time, he changed his proposal, and the reason why was because in his
it's a new version of PowerPoint
offering of a group of European white mercenaries, non-Muslim mercenaries, he didn't get a whole lot of takers. And what he was advised was that if you want to sell this program, what you need to do is give them something that was politically palatable. So what you need to do is you need to offer a solution to a problem that they currently have that they can't seem to control, which was migration. The problem of migrants coming up through well-established, lanes, if you will, routes to try to get into Europe. And if you provide them with a border solution, that is something that not only will they accept, but you can probably get buy-in of the European Union, because the European Union, of course, is the one who receives the migrants on the other end. And so come 2015, last year, where you had this crisis, a refugee crisis, as far as Europe is concerned, and certainly is very evident from the conflicts in the Middle East, they have all of these migrants washing up at their shores, and many of them leave Libya, regardless of whether they were from Libya. And so now he started to get a little bit more traction, because he wasn't offering a mercenary force, he was offering a border control system. And what was, and in fact, this is part of where our story began in terms of where we picked it up, because what we were being told is that, he's offering a border service, a border patrol, but what is really his intent is to build a mercenary force, and that this is just the fig leaf that allows him to do it. If he can sell this. There was a second.
Hold on a second. Is that pitch still open to the EU? Could he possibly be the one to put together the EU security forces? Could that be contracted out to him?
Well, that's kind of where he was headed, but that's when the government decided to put the kibosh on this guy. And play clip 3, and you can hear all of the elements coming together and why this guy is so screwed, although he has done nothing.
Complication, which is that Libyan government, because it's essentially a divided government in a stalemate, something like a civil war, and it is a failed state. they're financially frozen. They have a lot of money sitting in their central bank from all of their oil wealth, 150 to 180 billion dollars, but no one will allow them to spend it because no one's sure which government is in power, and no one's sure whether the money being spent is legitimate. And so Erik had this problem, which was he had the Libyans who were interested, but they couldn't pay for anything. And so the EU, partnering with the EU, potentially was a way to get half of it funded from Europe, and also to get the Europeans to help free up some of that money. And so now Erik Prince was offering something, not just a mercenary force. He was acting as a banker. He was a real knight in shining armor for Libyan government officials who were sitting there with no money. And so what we saw and what we could see from, and what our sources were saying, was that what this was an opportunity, unlike the other proposals that he was offering, was the ability to be a banker.
Oh, man. That fits perfectly. And you know what else folds into this theory, John? TTIP.
Oh, yeah.
Just when you're all...
Well, that has been off the radar. Yeah,
but the president has signed it. It just needs to be ratified by Congress. Think about that, since we don't really know what's in the TTIP. And I've been all for it. All for TTIP. I'd rather have the New World Order come in and, we fight him mano a mano going through this. I want to be alive when they take over. I don't want to wait. I want to see it happen, please. So, because it's inevitable. We all know this. So you have the bank. So there it is. The banking power. And we know our former New York banker here in Austin says, we won. We beat the Europeans, in particular the Germans. We won. We won. So the financial, we're not experts in finance. You're much more expert than I am, but we know that Europe is kind of a house of cards, and any small or medium events could start tipping it over. And if we're then in there protecting them at every event, and then we have TTIP come into play, then we'll own everything.
We will, hopefully.
Yeah.
And now this guy, obviously, Erik.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. What are you going to do? Let's be honest about it. Now this guy,